Ahoy! How are you today? Well, I hope. So, Kaiser Aluminum Hall of Fame, Disneyland, 1955 to 1960. This was a walk-through attraction in Tomorrowland, and I think Tomorrowland's an important land. But before we dive into the story of aluminum, if you will, through the eyes of Disney, we owe Henry Kaiser just a brief introduction. I don't want to make this a video about the history of Henry Kaiser, but this cat was born in 1882 and he passed away in 1967. So he was 85 when he died. Now in 1914, so it was a long time ago, he started a paving company, and that led to the building of some dams, several. The most significant or important, I guess we could say, would be the Boulder Dam, now known as the Hoover Dam. His company obviously grew, construction company, I think it was called the Six Companies, Inc. He had 6 different interests: paving, building dams, and things were growing. He also was a big fan of boat racing, and he took some of his money and he opened a shipyard in Seattle, and he started making boats using mass technology, getting away from rivets and starting to use welding to assemble boats, which at that time was a very new concept. Rivets is time consuming, as many other things. Well, World War II starts, and this is really where he hits his stride. He opens a shipyard called Kaiser Shipyard in Richmond, California, and he starts building cargo ships for the war effort. Called them Liberty ships. And what's amazing is he was building a complete ship in about 45 days. And back then it took months and months to build a ship. And he was using the welding technology and pre-assembly, almost taking a page out of Henry Ford's book of assembly line process, but for boats. He really helped change the shape of the war and made a fortune. He also started Kaiser Permanente. Yes, that Kaiser Permanente. He did that in 1942 for his employees to help make it attractive to work in the shipyard, even as the war came to an end. Insurance in some form of another for the employee and their families. After the war, he got into cars. There's some Kaiser cars that exist in partnership with Ford. And in 1946, he started Kaiser Aluminum. And this is where our story sort of begins. 46 Kaiser Aluminum. Now, aluminum is a relatively new material at this time. It's not common like it is today. I don't know the details, but essentially when Disney was looking to start his park, one of the things he wanted to do was partner with people. Basically, they're paying for advertising space. And in 1959, the Kaiser Aluminum Hall of Fame, an opening day attraction in Tomorrowland. And at that time, most of Tomorrowland's attractions were essentially, living commercials. And the Aluminum Hall of Fame was no exception, although I believe it was one of the more popular attractions, walkthroughs. And what they did is they advertised Kaiser's products, and I happen to have here the brochure that you would get as you entered the attraction. And back in 55 through 60, this was on the right-hand corner of Tomorrowland as you went to the right and entered into Tomorrowland. It's where Star Tours is today. That was the Kaiser Hall of Aluminum. And this was printed in 1955, and as you can see, Disneyland, the story of aluminum. And you can see here on this first page, it kind of shows you what you're going to experience as you walk through this attraction. First up is how aluminum is made. It kind of gives you some details. And as you work through each one of these pages, again, important, right? I don't know how aluminum is made. I have to read, beyond the obvious. And certainly in 1955, no one did. Most folks didn't even know what aluminum was. Anyway, you would kind of go through and here's some of the products that are going to be coming out with aluminum. And as you walk through and you're reading and turning the pages, as you walk through the attraction, Kaiser had some of its products. The first thing that you saw when you walked into the attraction was a tall pig made entirely of aluminum named CAP, and that stood KAP, and that stood for Kaiser Aluminum Pig or Products. Well, here, take a look. Here's a picture. I scoured the internet. This is the only one I could find. One of Disneyland's first intellectual property, right? The CAP, Kaiser Aluminum Pig. Take a look. How cool is that? Anyway, so you would go through, you'd go past CAP, tip of the hat. Here, take a look. Here's a couple of sketches of what CAP would look like before they actually cast them in aluminum. Take a look. Anyway, you get the idea. As you wandered through, you would see some other Kaiser products that would be coming out. Here, take a look at this. Right, and ultimately, once you walk through these various hallways, you would end up, there was a giant 40-foot long aluminum telescope that would eventually become Trip Through Inner Space. And today is the ramp as you go up Star Tours. But here, take a look. Here's the all aluminum telescope. You would see the time sphere. Take a look. A spaceman, etc., etc. And again, you would have this book here that would almost, if you had earbuds, you could listen to, but back then people read, and you would read all about, this plentiful, economical material known as aluminum. And then when you exited, you were given this commemorative card. Look at that. Now, I don't know what year this is from. There's a serial number. I don't know if you can see it. I think it's 51015. Yeah, 51015. So I don't know if that's 1955 or 1960, but it's somewhere in between there. And on the back, mine is damaged. I'll show you a picture in a moment of the back of the card undamaged that I found on the internet. But it basically just talked about the wonders of aluminum and how it's the brightest metal in the world. And, thank you for coming, Kaiser Aluminum. Anyway, I think, I think these are super cool. Find one of these and find one of these. Spared no expense. But just the idea, I'm a fan of Tomorrowland. And I think on some level it's misused. I think there's an opportunity to go back to the 1950s and 60s and have some living commercials. AI, for example. There's a lot of misinformation about AI and how we're already using it and what it's going to ultimately become. Not robots, not the Terminator taking over the world. I think there's an opportunity there for companies like Apple and then the various AI companies to partner with Disneyland and have small walkthroughs with this kind of stuff and educate the public. It doesn't take long. You can still have your rides. I would walk through. If this existed today, I would walk through. How cool is it? And again, I think Tomorrowland is a land, it should be about tomorrow. I get it. By the time you finish building a new Tomorrowland, it's Yesterdayland. But keep Space Mountain, you keep certain things, but I think there's an opportunity. Here, just to give you an idea how big a fan I am of Tomorrowland. Don't go anywhere. Wait 1 second. 1, 2, 4, 5 seconds. Wait right there. You know, I even have a jacket when Tomorrowland, this is from 1996, I believe. Look how cool is that? Right? Nice Letterman's jacket. It's in perfect condition. Spared no expense. I can't wait for it to get cold. I can't wait for it to get cold enough that I can wear it, which means probably 6, 8, 9 months from now I can wear it 1 or 2 days. But I think so much more can be done with Tomorrowland, and it could begin again with stuff like this. And I just wanted to share, do your own investigation. Henry Kaiser is a fascinating man. He did a lot of wonderful things. I'm not interested in all the naughty things he did because I'm sure that happens too. But how cool is it that I found the illumination card that you got as you exited the attraction? Can't imagine there's a lot of these around. And then the actual brochure that you would read as you walk through the attraction to learn all about aluminum. Anyway, I thought it was kind of neat. Here, take a look. Here's some of the conceptual sketches of the various things that were in the Aluminum Hall of Fame. Thank you for watching. In this world, you can be anything you want. Be kind, be humble, be forgiving, and take a look at these sketches, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.